Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Super stoked as always to have you here. I apologize. I'm a little sleepy. It was a long weekend. We threw the very first Deca Mile at Pursuit here in Colorado, and it was such a blast. It was so much fun, a great turnout, stupid hot and humid. Holy cow. Felt so bad for the athletes, but overall, everything went so well. Got to talk and meet so many people. Hopefully some of those people that are listening to the podcast today, welcome if this is your first time listening. But I wanted to share the Becoming Your Strong moment of the week as it relates to the Deca Mile event, because I have a very specific athlete that I'd like to shout out for that moment. If you are not sure, have never listened to the podcast before, the Becoming Your Strong moment of the week is just my opportunity to make you guys as listeners feel seen and heard. I see a lot of people on social media just out and about at different races, just in the gym, putting in the work and doing the hard things. And it's so hard to always be able to celebrate ourselves, to feel like we are making progress and be proud of what we're doing ultimately. And so this is my opportunity to say, hey, I see you, I hear you. You are being recognized and you are growing into a stronger version of you every single day. So with that being said, Miss Megan Reichert, I don't know if you are listening to this, but I just personally wanted to shout you out as one of the competitors this past weekend. Megan has been working with me for a little while now. She was one of the very first people that I met when I started working at Pursuit in January. And she did the 90-day challenge with me. I was a coach of a group of 4 gals that were just absolutely awesome. And she learned about my DECA journey and ended up getting involved, did her very first strong in February, heard about the mile that was coming up in July and was like, I want to train for it. So she's been doing some online programming over the last 13 weeks. And it's been so cool to see her in the gym, to see her do these hard workouts from time to time, and just to see her push through and get stronger. And this weekend, she did something pretty hard. She raced while she was pregnant. She found out a couple weeks ago that she was pregnant. Definitely not something that she was expecting. So this was one of those things where she was like, I'm so excited. Like, my husband and I, we've been wanting a second kid. We just didn't think that it would stick this early, and it did. And so a little unexpected. She's a little bit bummed because she's like, I've been training so hard for this, and I felt like my fitness was getting so much better. And now I'm doing this race, and everything just feels so much harder than it did. And I just really wanted to see what I could do when I wasn't under these circumstances. And so I could totally see that. I could feel the frustration. And what I loved is before I even had to give her feedback, she just immediately said, I've had to adjust for this season of life. I've had to adjust the expectations, just all the pressure that I've been putting on myself to accomplish something. And it has been really positive for me to just say, hey, now I just get to go and race this for fun. And I just want to give you the biggest hug and the biggest high five in the world for not only adjusting your expectations based off the season of life that you're in, but to then show up at the race, be so freaking nervous, do the race, achieve, be able to say that you completed the race, right? It was hard. Again, not only with the fact that it's freaking hot and humid, it's a tough race. And she did it. And she was so proud of herself for stepping up to the starting line and not allowing for this one circumstance to take her out of it completely. So I'm really proud of you. I think that that's something we could all learn to just get better at, is, again, seeing what season of life that we're in, adjusting the kind of pressure that we're putting on ourselves, removing expectations that aren't serving us, and just being realistic, being present, living in the moment, and just allowing for whatever life is serving us to really appreciate that, learn the lessons, and allow for it to build us to be even stronger. So congrats, Megan, for completing your very first Deca Mile and for getting the shout out of the week. So let's go ahead and jump into the topic of this week. It was actually inspired by a book that I just started reading. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it already on the podcast, but if you've not heard of the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, you need to go and pick this book up or get it on Kindle, something of some sort. This is something that I believe everyone in the world needs to read to better understand themselves, how they operate and like function in the bigger world with other people. This morning I read a chapter on fearing other people's opinions of you, and I had to share what really hit for me in this chapter and how you can apply some of these things to your life if you happen to struggle with just this fear of what will other people think of me? What are they saying behind my back? And I want to start with just thinking about, and this is for you to reflect on in your life, and I've already done this myself, but think about what is stopping you from taking the actions on the things that would move the needle forward in your life. Like, what are the different things? What are the excuses? What are the thoughts that come up in your head? And if I had to take a wild guess, there's two things that people are probably thinking. I would expect people to say fear of failure or the fear of not being enough. I know for me, it's been the fear of never being enough for other people, for just the current circumstances that I'm in. Like, I just have always struggled with being enough for myself and for other people, that's usually a big thing that comes up. So with that being said, I challenge you then to think about this. Who is saying that you would be a failure by doing XYZ things? Who would say, or who would you not be enough for? Because in all honesty, you guys, if you had really failed and you did it in silence where no one knew about it, no one saw, you probably would start taking more risks. If you got to do more of that, take more risks behind the scenes without anyone noticing or knowing about it, you'd probably take more of them. And the only person, you guys, who can really determine your enoughness is you. So can we all agree that this fear of what other people will think is what's actually holding us back? It's not the fear of failure or the fear of not being enough, but it's the fear of what other people are going to say and think that is actually holding us back. It took me a little while to realize that this is actually the source of some of my inaction as of late. But now that I know this, I can apply this idea of the let them theory to bring back freedom to my life and to give me back the power that I deserve. Now, if you're not familiar with the let them theory, the whole idea behind this concept is that you are not letting other things, other external things or people or situations to take your power. You are saying, I'm going to let them do what they are going to do. I'm going to let them live their life. I'm going to let them think what they're going to think. And I'm going to let me be the best, most authentic version of myself. Now, this does not mean that you are removing frustrations, that you're removing anger, that all of a sudden that everything gets easier. This is something that is repeated over and over and over again to remind you to take a deep breath and realize that you have more control than you think. But you only lose that control when you give that power away. By allowing for them, right? Allowing these situations to make you upset, to make you frustrated. You're going to get that sensation, but when you're able to say, let them do what they're going to do and let me move forward in the way that's going to emphasize the best version of me. Again, you regain that control and power back. So that's really what we're after here. But saying things like let them doesn't always work at the snap of the finger. Like, it sounds awesome, but our brains are smarter than that. And it will call you out. It will say, this is great, but this is just not true. It's good at that. As much as we don't want to care what other people think, we also really don't want other people to have any sort of bad or negative thoughts about us. That's just being a human. We want everyone to love us, everyone to like us in some capacity. So we really don't want those bad thoughts circulating around us. It's uncomfortable, and I think we can all agree to that. So we will go to the ends of the earth to combat that, which I think we also can agree is absolutely exhausting. So what do we do? What is the next step? This part of the book that I read this morning really hit home for me and gave me that so what now? And I want to share this with you. It's the fact that love and negativity can coexist within the same environment. Think about that. Love and negativity can coexist. I know that this sounds absolutely ridiculous, but if you have family or a partner, friends, any sort of relationship in life, then when you think about it, you'll find this to be nothing but true. Your partner, for example, will probably do the most disgusting things that at times they're going to make you question your life choices and why in the world did I choose this one? But you still love the hell out of them. Your mom might even be all over the place, drives you absolutely bonkers, makes you want to pull your hair out sometimes, but you couldn't imagine life without her. There's just no life without your mom. The point is, we all have some sort of negative thoughts about the people we love. So if that holds true, why should we stop our world to try and keep these negative thoughts from ever occurring? Love can exist with negativity. So therefore, we can allow for other people to be negative and say what they want, do what they want. And we can still move forward with love for ourselves, acting within the most authentic version of ourselves. When I read this and I put this into perspective, saying let them now feels so much more genuine and just believable. That as long as I'm living through my values, I know what those are, and I'm showing up as the most authentic version of me, guys, that's all that matters. That's what truly matters. And the people that really love me to my core, they're going to accept me as I is, even if, you guys, they don't agree with every decision that I make. I know that there's things that I do, decisions that I make, that Dave is like, that's not the decision I would have made. Like, good luck, and there's things that I do that might drive him up a wall. But he still accepts me for every part of me that I am and knows that I'm still a good person at heart. They're not saying that like you're a bad person, that you are not worthy of the wonderful things in life. They're just simply disagreeing with the fact that there's something that you did that isn't what they would do. And that's okay. Those two things can coexist. So here's the question that I ultimately want to leave you with today to think about. What makes you proud of yourself? If you were to stop caring about the opinions of others, what actions would you take and what decisions would you make that would make you so freaking proud of yourself? When you free yourself of that burden of other people's opinions, your values and needs and goals, they become your guiding light. Before you know it, you guys, you'll start stepping into your authenticity and start creating a life that you can be proud of. And that is such a gift. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today. I hope this short and sweet episode really hit home and gave you some opportunities for reflection so that you can start moving forward with those actions and decisions that are going to create the life that you deserve, not by living by the opinions and fears of what other people think of you. Be sure to share this with anyone that needs to hear this message. Rate and review the podcast if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next week for another episode of Becoming Your Strong. See you then.